We spend so much of our time working. If we're lucky, we get to do something that brings us joy.
It's one of my favorite parts of this job is the kids are always happy to see me.
My favorite thing to do is make cheese.
The lights, the horns and sirens. We got pyrotechnics. Then we use lasers as well.
From the Gert Boyle Studio, I'm Jen Chavez, and this is The Evergreen, a podcast from OPB about the place you call home. This week, we're bringing you another episode in our At Work With series. That's where we talk to Pacific Northwesterners who have interesting jobs and ask them your questions about what it's like to do what they do. OPB podcast producer Mia Estrada visited Don Froilan Creamery to learn about how they make their award-winning cheeses.
It's around 10 in the morning. Francisco Ochoa is walking into the cheesemaking room at Don Froilan Creamery.
My favorite thing to do is make cheese.
Locally sourced milk has been pasteurized, and now cheese curds are forming in a vat machine.
Yes, this is where after the milk has set and become cheese, then we start stirring to separate the whey from the curds. We stir about half an hour of stirring, and then we start transferring the curds to the drain table.
Ochoa is the owner and head cheesemaker here. His family moved to Oregon from Mexico when he was around 14 years old.
My parents were looking for Mexican cheese in the markets, and unfortunately they couldn't find it. And that's how the business got started.
His parents started making cheese in their kitchen in the late 90s. Neighbors found out and wanted to buy cheese from them. And soon enough, the whole community started buying their homemade batches.
Most of the time, my dad would take me with him to go deliver cheese, to go sell cheese door to door.
They would travel from Eugene to Salem.
We're searching for the customers, the Hispanic communities.
But soon to realize not just Hispanic people like the cheese. It's like,
right,
this is really good cheese in general.
That's Lisa, Ochoa's wife, who helps run the family business. The two started dating when they were in high school. She remembers those early days of making cheese.
My memory of watching him make cheese with his father and his mom was, these stainless steel tubs that they would use, and just watching their hands in the curd, to feel when it was ready. I was just a teenager, but I was just like, wow, this is so hands-on. Literally their heart and soul was in this cheese making.
Ochoa's father, Froilan, died in 2000. It was his dream to open a creamery, but he didn't know where to begin. A couple years later, from the ground up, the family made their father's dream a reality. They opened Don Froilan. The company now produces the best string cheese in America.
We're winning huge awards from the American Cheese Society competition. When you enter that cheese into the string cheese category, and we're winning first place. The best string cheese is Mexican string cheese, made right here in Salem, Oregon.
All right, stretching is starting.
Just around the corner, cheesemakers start to line up. They're getting ready to hand stretch Oaxacan cheese.
Hand pulling the cheese gives it a texture like no other. That's something that the machines just can't do. They can't replicate.
Making Oaxacan cheese is a little like ballet. There's a rhythm to it.
It's just a beautiful dance between two people of stretching the curds into long ribbons of queso Oaxaca.
The cheesemakers are holding 100 pounds of cheese in their hands. It takes a little over 20 minutes for each batch. Once it's thin enough, the cheese goes into a cooling bath to stop the stretching.
These are real cheese experts around here.
Mi nombre es Naomi.
Naomi's been a cheesemaker for 4 years. Her favorite part of the process is rolling the cheese. And she says,
Pues representar a mi país, ¿no? Una cultura mexicana.
I'm representing my country and Mexican culture, she says. Marcos is another cheesemaker. He's been here for a while too. He says Oaxacan cheese is the best. His favorite part of making cheese?
Pues al parecer todo. Me gusta aquí trabajar, estar. Como trabaja en equipo, te hace menos pesado el trabajo.
I like the whole process, he says. I like being here and working as a team. The cheesemakers lay the Oaxacan cheese out on a table, salt it, and make it into traditional Oaxacan balls. For fun, the cheesemakers throw around a Oaxacan ball, like a football. They treat each other like family.
It feels really good that I have a great team. a great team of cheesemakers. They can make the cheese as good as I would. They really take pride in making the cheese, and that's how the cheese turns out perfect. Having the right cheesemaker, a happy cheesemaker.
By midday, the Ochoas make their way to the front of the creamery, a quesadilla bar.
Hi guys, welcome in.
Their storefront is filled with Mexican goods and photos of Froilan. In pictures on the wall, his smile is so big his eyes are closed.
He was such a generous person. Sometimes people didn't have the $5 for the 1 pound queso fresco. And it's okay, no, it's for the family. Next time, pay me when you can. So it was really just spreading cheese to the world and to families. And that's one thing I would really want people to know about why the name Froilan was so important in the business, because of his generosity and his kindness.
Ochoa knows how hard the barriers can be, so Don Froilan Creamery is paying it forward by sharing its production facility with smaller cheese businesses, especially cheesemakers from different cultures.
Oregon is a home for many cheesemakers. That's the future of Oregon in the cheese industry, is creating diversity of cheese.
After helping his father's dream come true, Ochoa says his favorite part is still seeing people light up when they have Mexican cheese.
For me, it's like seeing people with a big smile when they try our cheese. When they have that taste, they're like, wow, it brought me back to my childhood. Or when people smile, it makes me happy.
And now we go from massive amounts of cheese to massive amounts of garbage. My fellow OPB host Lillian Kerbake got up very early to ride along with Brian Chamblin.
I always joke that I am a refuse acquisition and transport specialist, but my wife always gets mad at me and says, tell him you're a garbage man.
So how much garbage are we talking about here?
700 cans a day times 5 days a week times 52 weeks. That's a lot of cans. And times 10 years, that's, I can't even count that high. I don't have enough toes for that.
It's probably good he doesn't have that many toes, because that's over 1.82 million trash cans Chamblin has picked up over the past decade of working as a trash collector.
All right, let's head out, I guess.
This Friday morning, the parking lot of Pride Disposal in Sherwood is dark with dense fog, only punctuated by the headlights of garbage trucks and the reflective yellow shirts worn by staff. Chamblin does his pre-trip safety checks.
There's no loose bolts, there's no leaks, nothing unusual, anything broken, anything that would cause the truck to be unsafe. Make sure all our camera systems are working, all our lights are functioning. No cracks in the windshield, wipers work, horn works.
The early wake-up is part of the business. The earlier these big trucks can get on the road, the less traffic they have to contend with. Chamblin wakes up at 4 a.m. to commute to Sherwood from his home in Salem.
Not my favorite part of the day. It's not horrible.
And while he might joke about the job, he takes pride in it, particularly his preschooler fans.
It's one of my favorite parts of this job is the kids are always happy to see me, and I'll honk and wave when I can. And sometimes they'll draw me pictures and tape them to the garbage can. That's the best part.
And sometimes he gets free food.
When we get cookies out, usually around Christmas time or Thanksgiving, you'll get treats.
As much as he enjoys the friendly faces, there's challenges in the job, mainly the driving.
Cul-de-sacs are never fun with basketball hoops and things like that. They get in the way, so.
After the safety checks are done, Chamblin climbs up 2 steep ladder rungs into the driver's seat. Today, he's driving a side loader vehicle. That means there's a large mechanical arm that can be controlled from inside the cab to grab cans, haul them up over the side of the truck, and dump them in. The steering wheel is on the right-hand side, so he's easily able to hop out if he needs to get any garbage cans. The powerful engine sits right below the driver. That means the inside of the cab is loud. By 6 a.m., Chamblin is on the road. The first can of the day is a bit slower.
The fluid is very cold, so the gripper is really slow till it warms up, which can take a few minutes. Okay.
As the grabber picks up the can and flings it over the side, the entire truck rocks back and forth like we're at sea. Chamblin makes maneuvering a 50,000-pound truck with a giant mechanical arm look easy.
My wife makes fun of me because I cannot parallel park, but you put a trailer on it, I'll put it wherever you want it.
The truck is fitted with several cameras. One looks straight into the trash hopper, and one monitors the side of the road and the grabber arm. They help facilitate the work. It's easy to see if you've grabbed the can on the camera, but also to resolve customer complaints, like cans not being picked up.
It protects us. We've had customers, they hit my car. Then they pull up the video, oh yeah, you were nowhere near it.
The truck we're in today is highly computerized. There's a screen displaying each can that needs to be picked up in order and a section for notes. Sometimes the notes are fun.
Like, hey, this is a daycare, honk and wave to the kids. I mean, you can put whatever you want.
The routes are usually prepared by the back office, but then it's up to the drivers to optimize them.
Sometimes I'll go to sleep at night rerouting things in my head. I know if I did this, it'd be better. And, it's just, and again, it's never perfect. But my goal is to always be moving forward as much as possible rather than turning around and backing up.
He'll do a few hours of picking up cans, and then when the weight gets too heavy, he'll go and dump it back into the headquarters, into the wet pit. It's actually the only time of day when things get messy.
Food waste ones are usually pretty just gross and sloppy and,
Brian's grateful for a warm shower when he gets home. Most days he's done by mid-afternoon. Despite the early wake-up, he feels well compensated for his work. His position is union, represented by the Teamsters. For starting drivers, the pay scale starts at about $35 an hour and increases each year.
It's a good job. It's one of the few jobs that I've had that I don't dread coming to work.
His daughter is proud of him too.
Well, my youngest, her teacher told me that she always says that my dad has the most important job because he keeps the world clean. And I'm like, okay. That about makes me tear up. It's like, okay. I mean, I don't know if it's that important, but...
So, next time you see a garbage truck rumbling down your street, don't forget to wave. For Brian Chamblin, it might just be the highlight of his day.
Coming up after a break, we meet a biologist whose job is to keep planes from running into birds. Thanks for listening to The Evergreen, our podcast from OPB about the place you call home. If you like what you hear, go ahead and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, and we'll brighten your Monday morning just a little bit with something new and exciting to listen to every week. You can also follow OPB on Instagram at OPB Photo, or follow me directly at Jen Chavez OPB. That's Jen with 2 N's, by the way, and I'll keep you posted on what Team Evergreen is up to. And remember, this episode about people doing interesting jobs and all the great OPB reporting and storytelling you hear on this show is made possible by the support of many thousands of OPB members. Thank you so much. Support our journalism by becoming an OPB sustaining member today at opb.org/pod. And now, back to work. When you think of airports, you might picture security lines, baggage claims, and maybe air traffic controllers. But if you squint out your window seat just past the runways at Portland International Airport, you might spot a team keeping watch over an entirely different kind of traffic, the feathered kind.
Yeah, it's very exciting when you pull a large bird of prey out of one of these traps.
Lillian Kerbake spent some time at Portland International Airport with Nick Atwell to learn what it's like to be an airport wildlife biologist.
Ground, Wildlife 721, clear of Charlie.
Yep, you heard that right. The Port of Portland employs a crew of 6 biologists to patrol the runways from 5 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. We're heading out to the airfield in one of their bright orange pickup trucks.
So now we're heading down towards the south end of the airfield.
Inside the truck, the PDX Wildlife team has the varied tools of the trade.
The lights, the horns and sirens. We got pyrotechnics, and then we use lasers too as well.
Traps, nets, lasers, air cannons, pyrotechnics, night vision goggles. It sounds like a spy novel, but instead of sniffing out state secrets, the wildlife team is vigilantly scanning for and hazing birds.
Hazing birds, we're actually utilizing scare tactics to push birds out of the space that we would consider a high risk.
That means birds away from planes, which is hard work, especially at the PDX airport.
It's on the confluence of two major river systems, and it's on the Pacific Flyway. So if you're a migratory bird, the likelihood of you actually coming here is pretty high.
The work is evident if you know where to look. Even the trees on Northeast Airport Way are selected by the wildlife team so that they're not attractive to birds.
So you see the upright branching structure? So that's decreasing the ability for birds to perch in.
And the fluorescent green grass that you see along the runway as you land, that's their handiwork too.
That's the whole intent of the endophytic fescue variety, is that geese do not like to eat it.
They also do clandestine work, covering their stormwater ponds with thousands of black balls to hide the water from an aerial view.
Balls float on top of the water, so instead of being this giant open water space, like I'm saying, a proactive strategy.
It's especially proactive against the biggest feathered risks, large flocks of geese that could pose a threat to aircraft. Atwell says not every bird is a concern.
How often are you struck here by aircraft at PDX? And then we couple that with the FAA national database, and are those birds causing damage throughout the country? And then we rank them, and so we come up with our birds of concern.
And when the wildlife team spots an incoming bird of concern, that's when the truck full of tools comes into play.
You're gonna see sound cannons that are all strategically placed all throughout the airfield. Compressed propane gas that's ignited by a car battery that's solar charged.
There's about 30 of the cannons scattered across the 11,000-foot runway, controlled by radio signal. Because the wildlife team is good at their jobs, there haven't been many birds visible the whole time we've been on the airfield, except for a crow trying to crack open a walnut. But as soon as Atwell sets off the cannons, right past the airfield, a large flock of geese rise up to fly as far away from the cannon as possible.
Large flocks, right? We would even consider that a small flock of geese. And if that flock does cross the airfield, that's what we're calling high risk.
If hazing tactics don't work, sometimes they use humane traps. Captured raptors are then tagged, banded, and relocated away from the airport to a suitable area. Each bird is measured and logged at pdxraptors.com. Eager birders look for the special orange PDX wing tags and report sightings. Those sightings help the wildlife team evaluate if the program is working. They've translocated 1,894 red-tailed hawks since 1999. Atwell's favorite capture?
Capture an injured bald eagle on West Hayden Island. And so it was just a big-bodied bird. Yeah, that was probably one of the more unique days.
And what was the high-tech tool he used to capture a bald eagle? A trap? A net gun?
A blanket? A blanket's a quality tool.
And yes, they are old airplane blankets. For migratory birds, the wildlife team will drive them 2 to 3 hours away. It's like a board game where they're skipping a few spots.
It always depends on the season. So if they're migrating north or they're migrating south, so we're just trying to keep them kind of, in line with their migratory patterns.
If the bird is a fledgling, they might take it to Sauvie Island, where it can learn to fly away from the planes. About 6 fledglings per year will learn to fly under the Port of Portland Wildlife Team's watchful eye. Since Atwell started working at the Port of Portland in 1998, airport wildlife technician has become a career with a specific credential from the FAA. That involves a lot of on-the-ground training. Port of Portland is even hosting the national conference called Bird Strike USA this year. At most large airports, there's now someone doing similar work on preventing bird strike.
Often this is contracted out. Okay. And that person that's responsible might have to go to multiple airports throughout the day, whereas we have a team that's here all day long, just PDX.
Most of the staff agree that the Raptor relocation program is the best part of the job, and that shift changes are the worst.
Get up at 4 a.m.
That's a good one. Yeah, morning shift starts at 5.
So, next time you have to wake up early for a flight, try to spot one of the bright orange wildlife trucks on the runway. And know that if Nick Atwell is doing his job, you hopefully won't spot any birds.
You can see photos and read all the stories in our At Work With series at opb.org. Thank you so much for listening to The Evergreen, a podcast from OPB. Join us next week to learn about how cheese has shaped Oregon, from the large producers you've likely heard of, like Tillamook, to smaller artisanal cheesemakers who represent the past, present, and future of Northwest cheese. Julie Sabatier produced this episode, and our technical director is Stephen Cray. Mia Estrada, Lillian Kerbake, and Sage Van Wing did the interviews you heard. The music in this episode is from Audio Network. And hey, if you have a question for us, do not hesitate to reach out. Email us at theevergreen@opb.org. I'm Jen Chavez. Catch you later.